Good morning. I'm back. Who am I? Who am I? That's the show. We ask the question, who am I? And we mean it in every way you can imagine. Who am I? We ask this question and we ask it in every new moment. Fresh in every new moment we ask, who am I? Who am I? Who am I being? As well as, who am I? Why am I here? How does this work? What are the laws of the universe? Where did I come from? What is my species? What's the general shape of the divine matrix that I swim in, that I am embedded in, that I abide in, that I am a part of, that I am? What is all of that? It all gets very interesting. We're going to talk about everything from conspiracy theories, because this story that is humanity, it's the craziest story ever. And we are a part of it, and it's so interesting and it's so exciting. And the fact is that we have all the tools that we need to solve every problem in our lives. Actually, don't think of anything as a problem. I mean, it's more like improvement centers, improvement points, places where things can get better, where the movement, we can guide it in a way where it flows from where it was, which is a little sticky or resistant, into smoother, more efficient, more beautiful, more blessed avenues and zones. And the key to all of this is releasing resistance. Releasing resistance against the world in general. All resistance. Now, I mean that in a good way, not a bad way. So if you're interpreting it as a bad way, if something I just said made you go, I don't know, well, then that's not really what I'm talking about. Because the one I'm talking about is the one that is blessed, that is following the guidance of your inner being around your own resistance into the places where you really want to go. You just, for some reason, believe that you can't. There is no desire that you cannot achieve. Now, you may be interpreting physically desires that are out of alignment and pretty unreasonable. But your pure desires will be met. And I'll tell you what your pure desires are. Your pure desires are, first of all, for really uplifting and uplifted emotions. Exalted, things like freedom and joy and passion and things like that. That's what you really want. You want feelings of exhilaration, joyful, forward-moving exhilaration. That's what you want. And you have all kinds of ideas about what will get you there. You also don't always think in terms of feelings like that. You might be thinking more in terms of the objects that make you feel safe, like money, and a big house, and a big car, stuff like that. Those make you feel safe, make you feel free, make you feel, fun, that kind of stuff. And, to some extent, some of those things are really true. But we also have a set of needs. And if these needs are met, whatever we want, whether we wanted that $1 billion yacht and didn't get it, dang, or whether you just wanted what was on your list of 7 needs. I mean, you can't always get what you want, but you just might find you get what you need. There's a song about that, actually. The 7 needs being air, water, sleep, food, shelter, relationship, and expression. Those are the 7 things you need. And in the order that they will kill you if you don't get them. They will all kill you if you don't get them. Hold on, I think I've left my water bottle somewhere, and I am thirsty. All right, well, let's try to get this ship back on track. Find the energy stream myself within my own message. And then, when that energy takes me, then I'll fly into a discussion of something until it peters out. And then I'm like, okay, where am I? Who am I? Who am I? That's right. That's the question. Let's circle back around and let's talk about this. Because I think it's really the problem. I think all the other problems are a subset of problems that will all be handled differently once we realize who we are. Then all of a sudden, all of our problems come into a different light as you realize what they are and how to fix them. Who we are and how we operate our machinery in order to fix the, I'm air quoting, problems that we face in this world. Now, there obviously some of those, I'm air quoting problems again, some of those problems are kind of true problems, things like war, sixth mass extinction, global warming, both the part that we can't control and the part that we're vastly contributing to. Actually, the biggest problem, the other part, global warming is a double event. It is, I believe that what's happening, and I've heard this, there's scientific evidence of this, and a certain spiritual teacher who reports back from the scientific community saying what's going on over there, that in actual fact, core samples from, there's all kinds of ways to see the history of the past, the geology of the past, to study the ice ages and just the cyclical events. The ice cores of the Antarctic reveal a great deal of information about our past. And I believe that what Greg was telling us is that our global warming is a cyclical event. It's a naturally occurring celestial planetary event. That's not really the problem. The problem is it would be bad enough if the Earth was just warming and we had to adapt to it. But our problem is we're wildly out of alignment with our environment and with one another, and we're contributing, we're belching out more, we're like exacerbating the problem on top of us not being able to get into alignment and fix what we need to fix and adapt in the way we need to adapt. We're not doing it. So that's all a problem. All of that's being caused by us not knowing who we are, not knowing how it works, and not turning in the direction of how it works in order to work it, in order to create the world that we're looking for that's better than the one that we've got. You got to keep looking forward. You can't just look around at reality and go, well, there it is. Shoot. You've got to look forward. You've got to look at where the movie has come from, where we are in the middle of the movie, and where this movie might be going forward. And I would like to have a happy ending, thank you, to this story. At least have the race survive. That would be the minimum, I would think. But I would like to get farther than that. I would like to get to a place where humanity really knows who we are, so that we are joyfully, playfully, cooperatively, happily interacting with one another in faith and love and trust, knowing how to focus on what we want in order to get what we want, instead of focusing on what we've got in order to get more of what we've got. It's not a question of acknowledging reality. It's a question of what are you focusing on? Because your focus is a powerful I'm not even sure what to call it. Tool? It's not force, everything, how you focus, what you are focusing on, how you focus, and what frequency you are on as you focus, no matter what the condition you're focusing on, good, bad, indifferent. You know, the universe doesn't, in itself, does not see a difference between good or bad. It's neutral. It's judgment neutral. You're the one who brings the judgment to it, and as you should, but you're not doing what you think you are. What you're actually doing is every nanosecond of your life, you are gazing out into the world, and the way that you focus is expressing to the universe who you are. Who I am. You are choosing who you are. What you focus on is determining what you are. Although not really, because who you really are is always, it's always a good thing. It's never a bad thing. I'll tell you, who you really are is a continuum from forever in the past, connected with all things, with intention and interest, and there is a continuum of you, while at the same time, so this is one of those paradoxes, while at the same time there's no continuum at all. In every new second you are absolutely new, not connected to the past. Both of those things are true at the same time. And it's powerful. It's really, 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 really powerful. And the nature, gaze, frequency, direction of your focus is determining whether you are going forward or 180 degrees backwards in the opposite direction. You only have those two directions, and they are determined by how you are moving. This is determined by how you are focusing. It has to do with the frequency you're broadcasting. The frequency you are broadcasting on determines what's going to come back at you. The most powerful thing that you could do is to get out of the way of a very powerful forward momentum that's already going on. If you would just find a way to get quiet and sit back and start watching yourself, you know, it's kind of hard to do. I've sort of managed to do it kind of accidentally, but as it happens, I realize, oh my gosh, this is revealing an aspect of our configuration, our characteristic. This is who we are. This is how it works. And depending on how you're identifying, also, that is determining which direction you're going. The intention that you hold as you move in any direction, that is determining things. That intention that you hold is coming from either a fearful or a loving direction. It's coming from fear or love. It's coming from growth or protection is another way of saying the two directions. Growth is forward, protection is backwards. And, you know, sometimes you need to do a little protection in order to protect the avatar for another day. It is important to protect the avatar. There are people around you who love you, who want to keep interacting with you, who really, 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 really want to keep on interacting with you. So do not let your avatar slip, baby. It is important that we protect our avatar, but it's not as important as you think that it is. It's not like everything. We are at this forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But this is also a really, really cool time. So if you've got an avatar going on in this timescape, in this moment in time, hold on to it. Hold on to it. Tune in to the highest frequency that you can manage. Forget about yourself for a minute. Because yourself, forget about this little self that you're so protective of. Because you actually are a way, 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 way bigger self that it would be amazing if you could get in touch with. This bigger self that you are is in touch with all things, in touch with every one of the rest of humans, as well as the biofield of the planet. Depending on how you integrate, how you go down in the integration, how deeply you get into your own, the center of your own center of your center, the larger morphogenetic fields of data and information you click into on the outside. The deeper you go inside, the larger on the outside you click into. And actually, Nassim Haramein put this so brilliantly. Absolutely perfect. This is what you're doing when you meditate, when you align your thinking with the realities of the world around you. And I'm air quoting realities because that's really up for interpretation, what that even is. But we have been tracking history. Humanity has been tracking history for quite a few years, and in a general gisty way, it is helpful to go back and to sort of get a sense of this human movie that's going on. What's been taking place as we move from more constriction and less understanding and less loving kindness. I mean, just go back and look. Look in our not so distant past. And you will see that the world we are in at this moment is very much better than what it has been. Very, very much better. All kinds of human beings, the lowliest of the low, the most humble of us now has access to almost crazy unlimited information and power. You know, you can plug your freaking devices into the wall, even if you're poor, unless you're like in the street poor. But even then, there's still a lot of very poor people still have a telephone, still have a smartphone. And that'll make some people point at them and go, why do they need my help? You know, why do they have to need my help? There is a trap and a danger when you help too much and you don't let them stand on their own 2 feet a little bit more. But there is a balance, and people do need help. Your children need help. Your neighbor needs help. But you just let your heart guide you. Don't force helping where you think you should help if you aren't inspired to do so. If you aren't inspired to do it, don't do it because you think you ought to. What I would suggest, if you aren't acting in a charitable way, I mean, like you aren't doling out food at a soup kitchen or ministering to the poor in the streets of Calcutta or whatever, you aren't a do-gooder in that way. The very, very least that you can do is, as you gaze at the world, be soft in your thoughts. Be kind. Be kinder in the way you address the world in general, period. That will help. It will help start to turn your ship in the direction of where you really want to go. And then at some point you might actually be inspired to help someone specific in a moment, you know. Who knows? In any case, let's get back to the discussion. Why are we talking like this? Why are we talking like this? Because humanity does not know who he is, she is, we are. Does not know. Does not know how magnificent and wonderful we are, or we would not be treating each other the way we treat each other. I am going into this space, so I'm going to be here for another hour and 40 minutes, thereabouts, maybe a little bit less than that. But during this discussion, we are in a place of absolutely no resistance. In the sense that we talk about ideas, we throw them around. We're not really talking about things in a practical way. I have no specific instructions for anybody about what specifically to do from where they are. I push back against no one specifically. If you feel pushed back against, then it might just be, you know, let go of your attachment to what the situation, because I do have my gripes. I do not like the fact that someone has robbed us of a century of incrementally getting off of fossil fuels. I kid you not. That is the state of the matter. So, but I find it really exciting as part of the human story. It's so interesting to think about who we are and where we are and what we might do next to fix every single one of our problems at one fell swoop. However, it is warning you, it is going to open up a whole new set of problems. But that's all right. I'm tired of the problems we've got. I'm ready for different problems. I'm ready for these to be solved and a whole different can of worms to be opened up. Tired of this can of worms. This can of worms is starting to stink. So what do I mean by that? Well, I think that a great deal of humanity's problems are being caused by the burning of fossil fuels. And I think that there's absolutely no reason why we still burn fossil fuels. And I'm not saying that the landscape should be cluttered with a bunch of solar panels or, as a matter of fact, I am not a proponent of power plants. We need to get away from power plants and the grid. And we can, actually, but we don't realize that we can. And I don't want to push back against anybody or anything. Wherever I'm getting my power now, I need to be getting my power that way. That's how I do it. But if humanity understood that it was possible to do something different, we could just go do something differently. And we could do it fairly quickly. We don't have to punish anybody who's been responsible for keeping us in the dark. We don't have to do that. And as a matter of fact, any of the time that we spend punishing those responsible for having done this to us, or whatever nonsense we're telling ourselves. Although, if you look at it from one direction, it kind of looks like that. I could point at certain specific individuals, and we could bring them all to justice. But you know what? That is not going to give us the world we want. The world we are looking for, the world we need to just turn in the direction of and just go there. Just go there. Just know that if you want what you want and learn how to focus on what you want, you can just go there. You don't have to fight anybody on the way. All of that resistance is just part of the game. It's part of the drama. It's part of the fun. And we do it because we think it's fun. I know that the game has gotten out of control. It's gotten out of hand. It's really serious. And it is. But it isn't. You know, all we have to do is just turn in the direction of what we want. And what is it that we want? Well, we want to stop burning fossil fuels, and we want to have plenty of energy anywhere for anybody to do anything that they want to do. We want to trust them, and we want to trust the Lord. We want to trust everybody's inner beings, the vibrational nature, the blessed, forward, evolutionary, expansive universe that we've got. We want to trust it. We want to use it. We want to use how it works. We want to soothe all of the inflammation that's going on. You do not soothe the inflammation by bringing the culprits to justice. That's not how you soothe anything. That's how you turn into a Nazi. You know, being too judgmental and literal and specific, and living in your negative emotions, and living conditionally, and subtracting out what you think is the problem, instead of understanding that it's one integrated whole, that we have to understand it as a whole, and yet we have to walk it, each one of us, as an individual. And we become the wholeness through our blessed divine autonomy, our individuality. Each one must shine their light on their piece of the grid, only you can live your life. Only you can take the impulses coming to you from source in a pure direction, from where the directions for who you are and where you stand can only be taken from where you stand. No one else can do it for you. Now, they can tell you all kinds of things. They can say, well, it looked like this from when I took my journey, and I did this, and it turned out this way. I did this, it looked like this, it felt like this, I took this action, and it turned out this way. If that helps you from where you are, well, you're welcome. That's about all you can do. And you can help them by seeing who they really are, instead of focusing on where they're bumbling and stumbling, where they're messing up. Instead, focus on their real heart, their truth, their who they really are. So who am I? Who am I? That's the name of the show. The Who Am I Project is also something that might morph into at some point if it needs to modulate in any way and achieve a different iteration. It might turn into something like that. I own the domain for the next 3 years. Let's see what happens with it. So it has come time in the show for my first slide change. I'm going to go to the one that I go to most often. This is my scene breaker, my most common scene breaker. It's this one. It's because this illustrates to me, this is an illustration of, think of it this way. You are two minds. You are two minds, and one of them you knew about, and the other one you probably didn't know about. And the nature and configuration of the other one is what's making the one you know about behave the way it does, feel the way it does, think the way it does. There's that the presence of the one you didn't know about is causing a lot of action in the one that you did know about. And it's going to help you understand yourself when you understand who your two selves are. Self, conventional, physical, the conscious self, the one you know about, meet eternal source self, meet source. You have these two aspects of yourself, and they are not, your source self is not God somewhere else. Now, there is God bigger than you. There is the Almighty, the wholeness, the allness comes together into a magical, integral, it's an integer. It's a fractal integer of the holographic universe that we are all a part of. And that holographic nature is really, really important. Understanding it mathematically and understanding that it has a mathematical physics foundation, a structure that you can imagine in your mind, helps you to trust that it's there and that you really aren't alone. You really, really aren't alone. And there is a vast quality to the unseen forces and energies and consciousnesses that surround you, that lovingly surround you, that you are all a part of. Anyway, it's all very interesting. And this pure positive aspect of you that is really you, it's the continuum of you, it's the connection of you, it's the you that has always been, and the you that it has always been is connected to a field that has always been. And yet, in every plonk instant, it winks out, completely out, and then winks completely new back in. And what does this? Why does it do this? Well, the world of rolling manifestation is in rolling flux. It is the fifth rule. Well, the fifth thing that you cannot change is that everything changes except for the laws. The world of flux is fluxing. The manifestation, the physicality that you are observing, the state of the stars, the temperature of things, the direction they're going, it's um, it's changing every second. You know, the height of the mountains and the position of the planets and whether that star is there or whether it's gone nova. Everything in the world of the physicality is in flux. Everything changes. You cannot stop the change. And the reason it changes is because everything is winking completely out and then completely back in. And you can hold the focus a little bit, but you can't hold it all. And so the changes leak through. Or you can focus on change and you can make it all happen quite a bit faster. Now, there are the momentums of things that you cannot change so fast, like the sun is shining out there, the solar system is going, and you're a part of that. That is a bigger pattern that is going on that you cannot change. And as a matter of fact, it ain't going to change soon, although it is changing all the time. There are specific different molecules that are firing off in the fission chambers of the sun. You know, it's the same, but it's different. I don't know how to say that. Anyway, this is who you are, and this pure positive aspect of you has a great deal of influence over the you that you are, has a great deal of influence over your emotions, because the source mind that you are is always thinking forward, thinking positive, seeing all the possibilities. It's connected with reality. It's connected with the reality that was an hour ago, that was yesterday, that was last week, that was 100 years ago, in a continuous flow of information and consciousness. So that's who you really are, but then you also have your physical mind in your physical body with an aspect to it, your neocortex, very interesting part of your anatomy. Your neocortex is this overview mind. It's your overview mind to your physical life. It's the one that is capable of seeing bigger than just the gut reactions you get from observing physical conditions around you. That's coming from your lower minds. You know, your lizard brain, your mammalian brain are reacting to the physicality around you. You know, like if your baby is being threatened, you know, you feel that fear and that protection. You know, if someone's encroaching on your territory, you know, you get feisty, you react back. You these emotions, they're coming from a reaction, your design that is designed to react appropriately to the environment around you. And all that is well and fine. And there's nothing wrong with any of those emotions, with any of those lower reactions to your physical environment. But you have an overview mind, one that is capable of taking more information into account and then coming to broader conclusions about the situation. That's your neocortex. It has kind of an analogy to the source mind in this picture here, this one. It has sort of an analogy to your source mind here. It's not exactly, but it's sort of an analogy to your source mind within the configuration of your physical mind. It is your neocortex is able to evaluate the meaning of the world, the meaning of life, the meaning of, you know, of emotions and how spirits, how things feel. Peace feels better than war. Love feels better than anger, and all that kind of stuff. It has the ability to see bigger. Now, if you don't understand what your negative and positive emotions are, then you can disconnect your heart from all of this and just think with this brain, with this overview brain, and come to all kinds of erroneous conclusions about what would be better for the world. Nazism is a really good example of how that can get out of control. It is Wetiko in full display. It is that disease of the human spirit where the head and the heart are not connected to one another. The Heart Math Institute's been studying the heart-brain connection for the last 25 years, and it absolutely is a thing. The heart and the head have to be connected to one another, or the human system is not wise. Is not wise. You should not trust a leader whose head and his heart are not connected to one another. And I don't know where that leaves us coming into this coming election. One is absolutely flagrantly not. And the other one, I'm not sure how with it he really is, He's just kind of, I don't know what's holding him up. He's just made of air and fluff. And I don't know why the Democratic establishment has just insisted that he is the only one that could possibly pull everybody together. Well, I think it's because they have a really uninspiring sort of vision of the world and for the future. And so they kind of need, I don't know, maybe the really wise, fresh ones with good ideas are going to rock the boat too much. I don't know. I'm not really sure what the problem is. But we've got a big problem on our hands here. I think that really it's being caused by us not knowing who we are. And that if we would wake the F up and know who we are, and we could do that fairly quickly with the right nutshell of information. And this is my feeble attempt at my contribution to the nutshell of information that you could pass off to people, and then they go, oh, is that what's going on? This is my humble attempt. So what is the meaning of your emotions? Your emotions are no more and no less than this. You have two minds. Both of these minds are taking thoughts. Your source mind is connected to all truth and all reality and is focused directly upon everything that you have declared that you want, because it is your higher self, your best self, your most forward-reaching self, the most forward-reaching that you and your physical body have encountered, have expressed, have identified, have experienced, I'm not sure exactly how to say these words, but the forwardmost vision of all that you have declared that you are and want, that's where your inner being is, and is calling you to that place that you have identified. It's a cooperative effort between the two of us. Your inner being could not do it without you. Your inner being loves you so much because you are willing to live here on the ragged edge of, it's dangerous out here. On the one hand, I'm going to air quote that. It's dangerous out here, but it isn't dangerous. It's both. It's incredibly dangerous out here. And not dangerous at all. It's really, really fun out here and not fun at all. Just depends on which direction you got yourself turned. You got to know who you are. You got to know who you are. And who you are is this double being. That God that everybody talks about, it is both out there and it is not out there. It is you. You have a little sliver of it. You have your little piece of it that is with you, that is connected to all things, that is guiding you. Do not go anywhere without this aspect of yourself ever again. Don't go anywhere without this aspect. She is with you always. You're either turned, when you get turned in the opposite direction of where you want to go, it's kind of like a valve. Have you ever seen like those valves that turn off? Like a ball valve. You turn the valve and the little ball fills the pipe and clogs it up and it closes it. When you get turned in the opposite direction, that's what happens. And the light is now to the back of your head. It's still there. It's still shining on you, but your eyes are looking in the wrong direction. You can't see it. And that's why it feels so horrible. It feels so horrible when you're there because your inner being is not with you. There is no light at all shining on your feet, shining on the path. You can't see any path in front of you. There is no light. And you don't have to see the whole way. You just have to see a few feet in front of you. If say you're driving in the dark from San Diego to New York, you aren't going to get there in one night, but say you're driving through the dark, through the night. You don't have to see all the way from San Diego to New York. You only have to see 100, 200 feet in front of you, wherever the headlights are shining in front of you, and you can get there. And that's what your inner being is doing for you. And so when I talk about your emotions, I'm talking about them in every instant of your life. Where are you taking your impulses from? Are you taking an impulse from fear? Are you taking your impulses from a fearful thought? Because your inner being is never thinking fearful thoughts. Your inner being is thinking forward-looking, eager, interested, happy, fun, possible. What's possible? What can we do next? Who do I want to play with next? What is possible? What can we do? And there is so much possible because we are living in a magical Planck field that is capable of morphing into literally anything. Literally anything. It just has to have belief, focus, some momentum of the reality that you've got to springboard from somewhere that's real. You can't just pull it out of absolute nothingness, but you can almost pull it out of nothingness. You can pull it out of your imagination, which, by the way, is not connected to nothingness. Your imagination is literally vibrational downloads that you are getting from your higher self, your inner being, your vibrational aspect that is in touch with all things. And I'll tell you why you can know that it is possible that you have a vibrational aspect of yourself that could be in touch with all things. I'm going to tell you how come it's possible, why you can believe this, why it's not just trust me, as the preacher says, just trust in the Lord. Actually that works too, but a lot of people have a very hard time doing that because they and I was always a person who had a very hard time with faith. Did not put my faith lightly anywhere. Did not believe anything or anybody if it did not make sense to me, and I would encourage you to do the same thing. The sense that it's making has to do with your consciousness. It is like an iOS. It's a computer operating system, that you have an operating system. And it needs your operating system, how you set it up, the laws and the rules and how it all works, needs to be set up in a way that is in alignment with the reality of the world around you. The object of the exercise, the laws of the universe, the way that it works, who you are, all of these things need to line up with the true reality of, because you are not just you. You are part of a larger organism, and the first larger organism that you're a part of is, well, you're part of all kinds of larger organisms. They're smaller and larger morphogenetic fields. You are part of your family. You are yourself. You are your 50 to 100 trillion individual cells that make up your physical body. And then your physical body is part of your family. And then part of your neighborhood. Maybe you have other side things too, part of your bowling team or part of your softball team or part of your political party or part of your church. Part of you have all kinds of groups and things, little morphogenetic fields. They are integers of data is kind of what they are. A while ago, I intimated here we go. the idea of when you go deeper into yourself, the center of yourself, through meditation, that what you're actually doing is, as you go deeper and deeper in, you start locking into all of the morphogenetic fields that make you up, which comprise larger and larger fields of data and information that surround you. It's just like that. And Nassim had a beautiful quote. I wrote it down word for word because I really can't say these words better than he put them. He says, when you integrate yourself as a biological being, you connect with the morphogenetic field of the planet. When you integrate yourself at the atomic level, you connect with the morphogenetic field of the solar system. At the level of the proton, you integrate with the galaxy, and when you get all the way down to the Planck, you integrate with the universe. Now, all of this has to do with the system of these fields of reverberating information that is traveling around the universe through the Planck field as it jiggles, through this cosmic jiggle of space-time. As everything is winking out of existence and then back into existence, there's this inky-winky distribution, that's not the right word, transference of information across all the scales. Everybody is uploading their information to the whole, and the information of the whole is downloading back down to the parts every Planck instant. And it's happening as these Planck oscillators, these which are tiny little frequencies, and they're all touching each other across where they're organized. They're spinning into what we call atoms and elements of matter, protons and such. But even when they are not organized, there is no place where this 0-point energy field, this Dirac sea, this seething, either organized, seeming organized, or not seeming organized, there is no place where this field of Planck's is not. It's everywhere. It's everywhere, and these Plancks are touching one another, and they are exchanging their information across the universe. And that's what source energy is. It's all, the way I see it, source energy is the original spin that we all came out of. And she knows where we all are in the picture through this cosmic spin that we all share. It's like we all sprang out from the same point. And that point is the center that we all came out of. It's the spin that we all came out of. It's the point we all share. That shared point is that point of information that you go back to, and that's where all the allness of all the information is. I know that sounds kooky, but I think that's the way that it works. And so actually the way you travel around the universe is you get a better grip on how to move between the frequencies without getting in your... It turns out that the farthest distance between 2 points is not necessarily to take the physical road and draw a line between them and go between the... That's not actually the quickest way. The quickest way is to find the frequency of that point, start to vibrate that frequency, and you'll get there. You will be transported there. You get there in your consciousness, but then there's a material world around you that your consciousness is dealing with. That's the place that you were going to. So I don't know how come it matters. It's all very mysterious, actually, you know. And we're in a place right now in this Who Am I forum where we are not pushing back against anything. We make room for all the wild and kooky, crazy ideas. Just knowing that in this forum, The understanding is we are all one. We are all in this together, and love rules the day, people. Whether you like it or not, your inner being is all about love and all about connection and all about, your inner being is absolutely very concerned about the welfare of your neighbor. Not concerned in the sense that she's worried about your neighbor, but your neighbor's well-being is very much a part of what would make her happy. You know? I would like to, when you and your small self can get those kind of thoughts into alignment with who your larger self is. Your larger self wants everybody in the neighborhood to be happy and prosperous and abundant. And when we're all abundant, we're all way more abundant, because I can make abundance in my little yard, but I'm just one little yard. And if all my neighbors can make abundance in their yards, then all of a sudden I live in an abundant neighborhood. And I live in an abundant, city or state or country or planet or whatever. We all do better when we all do better. And your inner being knows this. And depending on how you are you acting like you really belong to a larger body? Or are you acting like a cancer cell concerned only for your own fatted self? And to hell with how it works with the rest of the body. Now, you don't have to do this in guilt, and you don't have to do this as a matter of fact, you don't have to do this intentionally. If you start following what you really care about and what you really love and want, and focus on your desires and start learning how to focus on aspects of the world that are more pleasing, start looking for the best in each other, start reveling in each other's success, start identifying with everybody as part of yourself. When you see somebody on America's Got Talent that does an amazing job at something, you don't have to go, oh, they're so much better than me. You go, oh my God, we're so wonderful. Look at what this person can do. I wonder what it is that I can do. Because I promise you, people, we live in the land of Xanth, and every one of us has a magical ability. Now, depending on how alive you are, your ability might be just, that you can put spots up on the wall. That was part of the Piers Anthony. So everybody in Xanth has a magical ability, and some of them rise to sorcerer levels. Some of the things that people can do, but everybody's special. Everybody is special, and everybody has a very special and important place to play in this future of abundance that I am interested in living in. I don't want to live in a paradigm of scarcity anymore. I mean, I see that's what we've got. That's the springboard that we have to, spring off of. We actually live in a world of such blessed abundance, you couldn't even hardly believe the abundance that surrounds us. And yet we're having a problem with this. Sixth mass extinction, continuing war, starving children, garbage island, desertification, growing deserts, just suffering in general. When I say sixth mass extinction, that is in a way of saying so much pain and agony and suffering of non-human beings across the planet that if you start looking in that direction, it starts taking your breath away. It's so awful. It's so awful. On the other hand, we can turn this ship around. We can get the abundance going back the other direction. We don't have to be the instruments of, global apocalypse. The only reason we are is because we don't know who we are. We don't know how this works. We don't know how to be different. The way we have been doing it for these many hundreds of years, thousands of years, we have been trying to do it by way of the law. We have rules on the outside. We write them down. We agree on them in our conscious minds. We enforce them with, police and, even our military in a way is enforcing a kind of law, although it's totally lawless and absolutely chaotic. It's an expression of energy that is not in alignment. And it is a result, the war actually comes as a result of pressures on the environmental system, on the whole system going into it, and with human beings who are falling through the cracks, who are not, their needs aren't being met, they are falling into fear, danger, threat, negative emotion, acting on their negative emotion, getting together collectively and acting on their anger and their fear, and agreeing that there's an us and them and you're the problem, and so collectively I've got to blow you away, and that's been the sport that we have been engaged in for quite a long time. But that's not really what we want to do. We just keep doing it because we don't know who we are, and we don't know actually what the problem is. Oh man, excuse me, that took me by surprise. I should have paused it. Anyway, it is my thesis, my theory, that when we understand who we are and how better to work this wish-granting machine that we have been blessed to be born into, the problem is it is granting, the wishes that is granting you is whatever it is that you're focused on. That's what's coming into being. But it's not, you may think you're focused on money, but what you're actually focused on is the lack of money, and you're pissed about it, and you're acting in your negative emotion instead of focusing on the actual abundance making machine that surrounds you, figuring out how the heck to work it, and then start moving in the direction of what you want. When we all do that, and the more of us that do it, the more, and that it works for us, the more others will start doing it. And pretty soon, Source will be guiding all of our feet. This can happen very gently, but does not have to be an upstream motion. As a matter of fact, the more upstream you try to go, the more resistance that you throw onto this, the more you put it off, as opposed to just turning in the direction of what we want. So what do we want? We want to be off fossil fuels. Why do we want that? Because the burning of them is choking Mother Gaia. Absolutely choking her. And it's not necessary. It's creating a paradigm of the power paradigm, the centralized power paradigm that it is creating, and the paradigm of artificial scarcity is the root cause of human suffering right now. It's actually the root cause of all suffering. Even the non-human suffering is being caused by this. Us not knowing who we are is creating the paradigm of scarcity that is hurting everybody. Hold on. I'm moving in on the microphone in a funny way, and I better stop it. I'm sorry. I just decided to plug my keyboard in just to make sure that it didn't. It's been a while since I've done that. I didn't want it to die. So who am I? Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? Where am I in this movie? Well, what's been going on for the last little over 100 years is that it started, where does anything start? Where did the human story start? It's been going on for a long time. It started when we started keeping track of it. And, but back a little over 100 years ago, I'm going to start with Nikola Tesla. He was working on ideas that would have provided, he was trying to work on this tower. His ideas would have provided both clean, free energy, this tower that's emanating a frequency that people can just tune into. They take their devices, they tune into that frequency runs their device. You know? Clean, free energy for everybody. The tower can also be used for clean, free communications. This tower you can broadcast. We don't have to do it the way we do it. We don't have to do it through wires. We don't need 5G. There's our power using technology. We don't need any of this. We need to understand who we are. we need to understand what we're capable of. We need to understand how to come together and harmoniously integrate and organize with one another. What we may not realize is that Source knows how to organize us. And the way it does it is through our pure desires. That the pure desire for those feelings that we're looking for. Every one of us wants all those feelings. The feelings of joy, freedom, safety, fun, accomplishment, creation, exhilaration, abundance, comfort, clarity. That's what you want. Now you address it by way of the physical world around you, and you translate it in terms of things like, well, I think that I want to feel free, so I'm going to go buy, I need a car, and I don't have any money. I can't buy a car, so I guess I can't be free. I guess I'm just stuck. When in actual fact, the better way to do this is to identify the feeling, try to practice the feeling of the feeling, what that feeling feels like, hold it as much as you can, and think thoughts that generate the feeling, and then watch how the world around you is going to start shifting to match the feeling that you've accomplished. And you can't do it by believing things you don't believe. You can't do it that way. You have to massage this. You have to work with it. You have desires that there's no reason why your desires cannot be met. The only reason that they can't be met is because you've translated them into physicality that then you believe cannot be met. So translate it into different physicality, or find a way to believe the physicality, or something. You've got a blockage in there. You have to find a way to believe your own desire. So bring your desire into a smaller place. Don't have it so big that my desire is to be king of the world, but there's no way I can do that. So I guess I just have to keep working at Circle K, or whatever it is that you're doing. Bring it down to this moment and this moment and this moment. It's not big pronouncements about, whatever. It's how do I feel in this moment, and what is my thought in this moment? Is it a fearful thought, or is it a hopeful thought? If it's a fearful thought, it's the momentum of it is going to get bigger and cause more negative emotion, because it is based on a foundation it's coming from a place that is not you. It's coming just from a frequency that you just picked up, because all the frequencies are everywhere, good and bad, light and dark, positive, negative, they're all around you. And whichever one your consciousness grabs onto, momentum's going to start getting a hold of. Now let's look at your emotional guidance scale. If you're not a fan of the show, this is the very first show that you've ever watched, go to my YouTube channel. Click on the channel, and then the videos posted on this channel. I've posted, this is my 101st one, although 18, I counted them yesterday, 18 of them are, at least I think it's 18 of them. 18 of them are unlisted. So from your perspective, there's 82, and this will be my 83rd public posting. But yesterday was my 100th YouTube ones that I had posted. Now I did it for about 2 months before I started posting to YouTube. And so I have about 60 more. But go back and watch where I've been coming from. And this is just me getting better and better at trying to pull this group of ideas together. What's the group of ideas? Well, Nassim Haramein back in 2012 unified the quantum world and the cosmological world, unified it mathematically. The mathematics is there, and the mathematics works. The scales, the relationship between a Planck and a universe, actually, I'm absolutely positive that a universe is a Planck. A universe has our actually, this is a wonderful place to bring in this. I do have a links list. It is an odd place to put it, but I put it in the description of my video because I don't know where else to put it. But you can go to the description of my video, open that up, and you can see this links list. And it's links to all these different YouTube videos of other people's. First one is The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. That is a documentary showing you that for over 100 years, really good ideas over unity devices that put out more energy than they take to run, have been suppressed, brutally suppressed, murderously suppressed, in some cases. Sometimes you just buy the idea and then shelve it, deep six it. Sometimes if the owner doesn't go that quick, that easily, then you have to deep six him too. Go watch that movie. It's really interesting. The possibility for a future. We could have incrementally been getting off fossil fuel all along. There's no reason why there should be this gargantuan, massive infrastructure all in the momentum of nothing but fossil fuel. The way our airports are, the way our automobiles and the we do not need to address the world the way that we do, and all of the problems that are being caused by the way human beings produce goods, the way they have to capitalize in order to, all nations have to capitalize in order to claim their fair share of the, or any share, whether it's fair or not, of the supply chain of humanity, the goods and services that mankind produces. Each one of us capable of producing, whether you're, putting together beadwork, and then selling it on Etsy or whatever it is you're doing, you're probably having to contribute to the supply chain of goods and services that service mankind. And if you don't have a good that you are producing, then you're probably having to serve someone. You're serving tables, you're painting toenails, you're psychoanalyzing, some rich guy's kid, whatever. You're doing something in order to monetize so that you can claim your share of the supply chain of humanity, the technology, the foodstuffs, the furniture, and paying the rent and all that kind of stuff. That's what's happening. Well, increasingly, it used to be a gold standard. That was what the currency was running on. More and more, it's a petrodollar. It is an energy dollar. If you have if you have something that produces energy, then you have a commodity that you can trade for goods and services on the supply chain. That's just the way it works. Now, the paradigm of scarcity, I believe, that we have is being caused by the way we're getting energy. And there's more and more and more and more people, and they all want a modern lifestyle. They want to be comfortable in their climate-controlled homes. They want to be able to travel around the world and visit one another because that's fun. They want to, be able to produce their own food. They want to be able to, eat well, at least, and be comfortable and social and all the things that we want to play with one another. And we're already doing many good and aligned things. There are more souls on the planet right at this moment playing than ever before in history. More billions of souls. Now, there are still souls that are crying out in war and pain and hunger and all that. And you can't disregard those voices, but focus on the other voices for just a minute. We have more joy going on the planet right now than has ever more people playing golf, more people eating in restaurants with their families, more people uh, cruising and water skiing and you name it. The playing that's going on, they're watching cat videos, they're staying in Airbnbs and going to theme parks, and more people are playing than have ever played before. As a matter of fact, 100 years ago, it was wildly unusual for large numbers of people to be involved in any kind of play. As a matter of fact, it was one of the elements that was brought to the Third Reich that a lot of people liked, although it was probably distributed in a very elitist manner. You had to be, of the master race if you were going to get this benefit. But regular people were sent on holidays to play. I think that what did they call it? Something through joy. I can't remember what it was. Something through joy. I'll have to go back and look. It was that Hitler show that was on Netflix. Came out 2024, brand new, really good. Actually, go watch it. But anyway, I was discussing this list now that I look up on my studio and I see that I have not finished. So the second link here, The Origin of Mass and Nature of Gravity, that is the YouTube explanation of the paper, which if you look lower down on the list, the paper's down there too. Then we have Quantum Revolution. That's the first episode of Nassim Haramein's series over on Gaia. You can do a trial free thing for a week if you want and go watch that really quick, all 12 episodes, or you could try to find the other 11 episodes. This is the first episode. The Science of a Unified Universe, I think, might be the name of that episode, but it also talks about spinning space-time, the fullness of space, the black hole structure, the new model for the Big Bang, all kinds of stuff. Understanding gravity, all really, really, really interesting. And the mathematics has been done. And the mathematics works. When you take a Planck, the density and size of it at the quantum level, at the quantum scale, and you blow it up to the size of the universe, it's crazy, but the mass is the right mass, and it's not the mass of the visible matter in the universe. It's the right mass, the mass of the visible matter plus dark energy and dark matter, all of the stuff that would need. It's the right density to hold the universe together. Undoubtedly, our universe is a Planck coming from another universe of a much, 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 much higher density. It was flung off through Hawking radiation, hit this density, way huge scales of density, less dense. That big density hits this light density, the gradient density throws the whole thing into it goes boom, first of all, big bang, boom, throws everything, all the particles into motion. That's what starts the whole thing. That's what starts a Big Bang, is a Planck from a different density flinging off of another universe, hitting this density, going boom. Anyway, The Connected Universe, that is the movie made, Nassim did it back in 2016, narrated by Patrick Stewart. The math was published in 2012. And it explains consciousness, it explains who we are, it explains the spinning nature of all of this. Then let's see, Living in the Future's Past, that one is narrated by Jeff Bridges. It isn't really talking about this in the way I'm talking about it, but it does talk about us as a superorganism, as us being fueled by oil and it's all very interesting too. It has some stuff to add. Paul Levy's article list, I got a link to his because I think Paul Levy is a very smart man and has something very interesting to say to us about the nature of the universe, the quantum nature. His story is an interesting one too. Sometimes I talk about him, sometimes I don't. Origin of Mass, Nature Gravity. There's the paper, and then the last thing is the Whirling Dervishes video. It's just a little a clip. Somebody posted it on YouTube. A guy. He's a whirling. I see it as, oh wow, it really is all spin, isn't it? We are being organized through spin. Look at how it is all spin. Watch that video. It's quite moving, or at least it was to me. So, where does all this leave us? Where does all this leave us? I have some great ideas about what we should do about our energy future. Now, I know other people listen to the show because they have problems in their personal lives and they want to understand who they really are. They want to understand their emotional guidance system. They want to understand how to know what to do next. First of all, don't be so quick to move into action. What you're looking for is a pull from the universe. You're an impulse that is undeniable. That you know you couldn't stop yourself from doing it if you tried. That kind of momentum. You're looking for that sort of thing, but. I'm going to have to keep working on this, folks, because I listened to a couple of Abraham videos over the last couple of days that really expressed to me in a really pure way how to call your shots. Say if you have this idea and you have this really good idea and it grabs you for a minute and then you want to act on it and then you're seized with doubt about it. Should you keep acting on, or should you be warned by the doubt? How do you handle that? Well, that's a tricky question. First of all, your inner being doesn't ever warn you that way. So if you are seized by a thought of warning, that in that moment, that is a call to not act, because you have lost your thread from that positive one that was pulling you forward, and now you are on a different thread. And until you find the other thread, just chill. It's okay. It's okay. You had a warning. Just think about it. Just, but find your way back to a positive thought and then go from there. Anyway, I often, when I do this show, don't really know which one of these directions I really need to go. Do I need to go to a very specific, or do I whip up the population into realizing how we have been betrayed? We have been betrayed. On the other hand, I think the reason we were is because we didn't know who we were. And had we known who we were, we wouldn't have been betrayed. And now that we know what's going on, all we have to do, we don't have to bring the betrayers to justice. We just need to know who we are. There is no us and them. And all of the time that we waste pushing against them in any way, shape, or form, we are crossing our own energy stream. We are throwing our good energy away on an exercise that's not really going to get us where we want to go. It will just get us into systems of more and more efficient prisons, more and more efficient judicial systems that allow us to punish perpetrators more and more effectively, to have us track down and bring to justice more people effectively. Then you start getting into, dystopian futures like, what was that one? Was it Vanilla Sky? Was that the one that was? There was one that Tom Cruise did about punishment, law and order and crime and punishment, and plucking it out of your brain. When you have the impulse to whatever, that's enough, and we can. I don't know. We don't want that kind of future. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for freedom, people. We want a way to set all of humanity free. And all of the fear that we have of automation and AI and stuff, it's our fear of it that's really the problem, and us not knowing who we are that's really the problem. AI and automation is not a problem. It can be put into the service of this great spirit that is trying to move us forward in our evolution, trying to move us into peace on earth, goodwill towards men, trying to move us into a greater understanding of source energy and ourselves as source energy, which is, by the way, also going to bring us to the conquering of gravity. Because when you understand what source energy actually is, you understand how gravity is baked into the cake. Gravity is baked into the cake because spin is baked into the cake. Oop, that's the wrong one. It's this one. Is this the one? Emergence of matter. No, plug. This one. This one is the one. This is the illustration that shows as these quantum vacuum fluctuations, these little Planck oscillators that either go into spin and organize into matter, or stay in the quantum sea. As they come into existence, as they spin into virtual matter and join in a continuum with others that are resonating with this. I'm just kind of throwing out words now, word salad. But as they do this, they spin. Spin is baked into the cake. Spin is the force that creates all the forces, and gravity is right there. You don't have matter without spin. You don't have matter without gravity. You don't have these forces without. They're all one thing. You're looking at one thing, and what you're looking at is the Planck field going into spin. What causes the spin? Gradient density in the field. And what is this field? It's a field of Plancks, and we are that field. You can't separate yourself from the pixels around you. It would be like a I can see it. I just don't have the words to say the analogy that just came into my mind, and so until I work on it, I can't just say it. It will hold me up. So this is the paper that Nassim Haramein just published back in September, and I posted the link both to the full paper and to the video explanation of the paper. If you're not a mathematics or physics person, just go watch it for a second. Your mind will pop. You'll go, wow, look at how the mathematics really has been done. They really do understand this. And the reason the mathematics is important is because from mathematics flows technology. And the technology of the future is going to come from this higher understanding of the nature of reality, a higher understanding than the one that we have been given. We should not be coming together as a nation of 300 million people and putting trillions of dollars of infrastructure together, building pipelines from oil fields to refineries across sacred aquifers, and then after refining, putting stuff or even just the crude crap onto tankers that hold millions of gallons of this poisonous crap and then sending it across heaving seas of sacred living organisms to ports to... This is not the infrastructure we want to be building, and I, from now on, am going to vote down all infrastructure until we have a better, clearer general understanding of who we are, and our politics and our policies are flowing from that. from flowing from this wisdom, from this head and heart-based wisdom. So anyway, who am I? Who am I? That's the question, isn't it? This is the full abstract of that paper. We're back to the neocortex. I'm just going to go through my slides real quick. I see that I am coming up near to the hour and a half mark. It means I have a fair amount of time left. I have a half an hour left, or thereabouts. Now, we were talking about the neocortex and it being your overview mind, analogous and complementary to your source mind. That's how come your thoughts have a resonance or non-resonance with your source mind, because you have this overview mind, and your source mind is like an overview mind. You know, how well are they blending? Well, if they're blending poorly, you feel bad, you're in negative emotion. If they're blending well, you feel good, you're in positive emotion, and now you are in sync with your broader vibrational perspective, who knows all things real. And you are powerful. You are powerful in your alignment. You are powerful in your ability to move effectively in this world. Where did this neocortex come from? It came from human chromosome number 2, or 76%. This figure I get from Greg Braden. And I've heard him say this. And he's got a slide that says it, that I should go find his slide that says this. That 76% of the volume of the neocortex is coming from human chromosome number 2, which is a fused chromosome. And here over at pnas.org, go find it. I found it. It's really easy, open source, free. You don't have to even put your email address or anything. You don't have to do anything. Just go look for this. This is the publications of our Academy of Sciences, which is the organization of the disciplines of the various specializations of science. So the geneticists, they publish their work, and the geologists publish their work, and all of the different disciplines of science. And the reason they do it this way is because only other scientists in their discipline can really understand their highly specialized language. So they publish their work to their peers review it, and if they object or disagree, so you publish your work to this, and that makes your career. And then your peers review it, and if they disagree with it, they can publish further stuff that shows how come they disagree and how they can prove that the other person's wrong and they're right, and that makes their career. Well, as far as I know, no one has ever disputed this. No one has ever refuted it or disproved it or anything. But human chromosome number 2 is it's two other chromosomes fused together. And actually, if you read the article and you look and you see what they're actually saying, you can see that what they're also saying is that there have been redundancies on both sides of this fusion were clipped away. It helped to stabilize that fusion, telomere to telomere. They're not. This is like, I don't know how to describe that, but telomere to telomere fusion is very unnatural. It's hard to imagine how this fusion happened naturally in nature. These geneticists are not saying how this happened. They're just saying it happened. Maybe it happened naturally. Maybe these chromosomes just fell on one another and the redundancies flew off. I don't know. I'm not a geneticist. I do not know. This is the full abstract. We conclude that blah, blah, blah is the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion and marks the point at which two ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. And at the same time, this fusion actually caused our cortex, our neocortex, to expand. Voila, human emotion. Voila, human overview. Voila, the human ability to consciously line up with your source mind. It is a powerful, powerful tool. All the other creatures, they're in alignment with source mind, but source mind is the one that's ordering them. They are not consciously ordering themselves. Now, the problem there is that we can also go the other way. It's the free agency that we have. It's what makes human beings problematic. And it's why we need to know who we are, because otherwise we're vastly destructive. And we commit all of those terrible things that I already discussed earlier, the global warming and the garbage island and the sixth mass extinction and all those, the war and all the things that we would like to make better, that we would like to get past. We would like to build a better world. Can we start doing that now, please? Anytime, any minute? IBM. I think that's their line, actually. So let's see, where are we in the narrative? There's our emotional guidance scale, showing you how well you are doing in your blending between your two minds. And I'll tell you right now, spoiler alert, if you are in any frequency of negative emotion, you have crossed your own energy stream, which is always forward-looking and positive, only in nature. So if you're in a negative state, you've crossed your energy stream. That's what caused that. Your two minds are not blending well anymore. Your conscious mind has taken thoughts that your inner being is not there with you anymore. She's thinking her own stuff and you've gone somewhere else. No wonder it feels so dark and scary, because your inner being is no longer with you. I would advise, don't go anywhere without your inner being. Never again go anywhere without your inner being. If you start thinking a thought and it feels disempowering to think that thought, there's so many other ways you can come at it. Still with the truth, you know. You've just come at it from a disempowering angle. And your inner being never comes at it from a disempowering angle. Always comes at it from the most empowering angle, and that's why you want to line yourself up with her. She knows what the truth is. She knows where the atoms really are. She is reverberating with all of the information of all the plonks of all the universe. And so she knows who you are and who everyone else is too. Believe her. Trust her. I'm calling her a her. I like that. It felt good. Call it a he if you'd rather. It doesn't have sexual organs, but I like the her because it implies nurturing, it implies fertility, and certainly the universe is both nurturing and fertile. But if you get crosswise of her, she is no longer either one of those. And so that's why you do not want to get crosswise of your own internal energy stream. It is the only reason that you're ever having any trouble with the world. The world is a secondary phenomenon to you. Your primary phenomenon should be lining these two selves up. And then from that position, now turn back to the outside world and start taking your impulses, from the field around you. You're safe to do that now if you are in alignment. If you're in negative emotion, stop right there. Do not act. Sit on your hands. Take care of yourself. Soothe yourself. Talk to yourself. Find yourself again. Realize who you really are. Who you really are is the positive one. If you're being a negative one, know that that's the one that needs to change. The positive one you will never escape. Never, ever, ever, ever. She will relentlessly dog your steps all the days of your life. And every time you reach for a small, mean thought, she will punish you with a negative emotion. Anger, fear, frustration, anger. Well, I already did that one. Revenge. Jealousy. She will punish you with a negative emotion. whenever you take a small, mean thought, that positive, that pure positive person that you really are. I cannot iterate that strongly enough. Here, I got this slide here. I like this slide. This one to me is an explanation of your brake and your accelerator, of your starship, your HBV, your binary system that you are operating as you fly through this universe on your little autonomous journey. Because even though we all are one, that is true of you with the wholeness of the universe. And so, in actual fact, the way you live your allness, your oneness with the Almighty, is you have to do it individually. You have to do it from your own individual position, and no one else is in your position except you, and so you have to do it alone. Sorry about that, but it is helpful to know how your mechanism works. So know that specifics are your gas pedal, and the general is your braking system. And if you're in a negative, I guarantee you want to put on the brakes. You do not want to put on the gas when you're in a negative state of mind. When you're in a negative state of being, you don't want to put on the gas. You want to pull away from specifics, because if you try to get specific from a negative position, you will only mess it up. You'll muddy the waters. You will reverse clarity. Clarity will be farther and farther and more elusive. So the idea is, if you're in a negative state of any sort, any negative state of emotion, pull out and just pull to the general. Find any kind of soothing thoughts. I like, actually, if you're in a specific negative, you pull back to a general negative. And that would be something like, life sucks. Damn it, people are aggravating. And try to get stable in your general negative state, pulling away from your specific negative state. Get stable in your general negative state. And then from a stable general, now you're way general. You're general, you're not looking at anything specific anymore. And so that's good. You've achieved a certain amount of relief there. You feel a little bit better now too, actually. Now you need to find a way back in to the physical world in a specific way, but you don't want to go specific unless you can find it in a positive direction. So you turn and try to, there are things that not everything sucks. Not everybody sucks. As a matter of fact, there are these things that do interest me. Yeah, there's this thing over here that just, oh man, it really floats my boat when I start thinking about this topic or whatever. And then do that. Don't follow the threads of thinking that take you into negative emotion. The reason that it's happening is because the thoughts aren't resonating with your inner being. You're diverging, you're deviating. The two frequencies are too far apart, and that sensation, it's a physical sensation you're getting in your solar plexus. It's that discord, that non-resonating frequencies. It's just mathematics. It's not anything you can really argue with, and it doesn't have anything to do with the condition you think is causing the negative emotion. You can look at the darkness. I'm learning to look at all of our problems and not be taken down by them. I, as a matter of fact, can start looking in directions where I get kind of excited about the possibilities. We can make it out of our wilderness, people. There is a pathway out of this. The scarcity paradigm is being caused by the way we extract energy from the system. And do you know that we don't have to do it that way? We do not have to burn any more fossil fuel. Well, we do. We have to burn fossil fuel for a minute while we transition, but we don't have to intend on continuing to burn fossil fuel forever and ever. We can do it now with the intention of doing something tomorrow. How do you do that? Well, everybody has to do it individually at first. How do you do that collectively as a nation? Well, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky. We got all kinds of issues going on right now. There is a natural sort of fascist conflagration of government infrastructure and supply chain infrastructure. I'm going to call it that. That's business. Supply chain infrastructure is all of business. There over time, all of these systems want to come together. Well, when we're out of alignment, that's a terrible thing. Someday when we are in alignment, as our systems come together in this harmonious way, it's going to be wonderful. We're going to be really glad that this resonating growth to central wholeness, we're going to be glad that it is in place at some point. Right now, it's creating things that are massively creating discord in the world because it's not fulfilling everybody's needs. What we really need to do is open up the paradigm of power so that when we can plug our technologies directly into the source of all things, this 0-point energy field that is all around us, when we can understand it mathematically so that we can build the technologies that will integrate with it, then we can give power to every single human being on the planet. Even if you're poor, even if you got almost nothing else, your village can get together and buy a few pieces of technology that allow them all of the energy that they need to grow all the food that they need to take care of their citizens as much as they need. They do not any longer need to munch their ecosystems. They do not have to turn their truffula trees into thneeds in order to create their own abundance or in order to tap into the supply chain of humanity. They don't have to do that anymore. They can just plug right into source energy. Now, that's the big kahuna. That's the Holy Grail. People think that the Holy Grail is cold fusion. That is absolutely not the Holy Grail. Cold fusion, I'll tell you what cold fusion's going to give us: more centralized power because of this centralized energy. Now you may say, oh, but it's unlimited and clean and free, but who gets to control it? It's controlled centrally through our coming together as a group, through our collective self that we are, because we are both our individual selves and we are a greater collective self. Well, right now our collective self can't be trusted, but there's another reason why you don't want to go that way, and that is that way the power has to be distributed through wires, through a grid, through a power grid that distributes the power down to and then you have the power companies that have to control the blah, blah, blah. It just gets way more complicated than it needs to be. And it creates a centralized power structure, the empire. It creates the empire and it creates the frickin' emperor. And I'm telling you right now, the emperors that we've put up for election it's just quite shocking how awful our choices are between possibly a well-meaning but doddering old fool who the establishment has put up for us and claims is the only one that can keep us from the other one, who is the autocrat wannabe. You can just see these forces, these general spirits at play in the field right in front of us. We are a field phenomenon, people. You are not just yourself. However, you have to be the collective self you are from a position of following the true impulses from your individual self. You cannot sacrifice yourself for the state. The state will become monstrous if the beings are sacrificing their individual selves for the state. But when you go for what pleases you, you have to account for the fact that you are a greater being. It's sort of like you being a cell in your human body. You don't exactly sacrifice yourself for the body. You live your cell's life for the body, and when it's time to go, you go. All of your desires are in alignment with what the rest of the body wants, unless you're a cancer cell, in which case you have disconnected your communications with the rest of the body as a whole, and you're just kind of doing your own little thing just for your own little self without seeing the greater context. Do you see how that works? Let's see. What else do I need to explain? I'm coming up on the hour and 45 minutes, coming up close to 2 hours. I'm going to be less than 2 hours. Have to turn it off before then. People do have to go about their day, and I do too. Later this morning, my husband and I are going to go play golf. We're going to play 9 holes executive golf course. Let's see. What are the rest of my... Here's my cymat. I haven't done the cymatics thing for a few days. Cymatics is the study of the relationship between vibration and form. I'm claiming that we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe. And I didn't give you the steps of creation today. I said a lot about that yesterday. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Step 1, you ask. Contrast causes the asking for more, asking for better. Not asking a question, but a question in this case is the asking for more. For more is the question. It's not really a question. Asking is a desire. And you emanate these rockets from you. You can't help it. When you experience less, you want more. Your consciousness is identifying the more that you want. And the universe is trying to give everyone what they want. The whole expansion of the universe is the universe expanding upon the desires of all the biological beings within the structure. You know, the snail creeping along on the floor of the forest looking for moss or whatever that it wants more of is going to cause the forest to grow more moss. It's kind of there's a symbiotic thing going on. Human beings have a different, we can take great creative leaps in this thing, whereas the most of the rest of the field is looking at the conditions of the biology around them, and they're not getting way out of... Anyway, there's reasons why the human world creates slightly differently, but it's all working on the same mechanism, and it's all this structure of we are all one, and the oneness wants it all to succeed. The oneness, it doesn't prefer the liver over the kidneys. It knows that everything needs to be working in order for this organism to move forward into the future. And honestly, your inner being knows all of these things. Anyway, these are cymatic patterns. These have been created by a digital cymatic device of some sort. Cymatics being the study of the relationship between vibration and form. It was pioneered by a man named Hans Jenny, who would take a granular medium and sprinkle it onto a metal plate and then pipe frequencies through it and study how the patterns change. That first of all, that it formed a pattern, a coherent pattern. And then as you change the frequency, the pattern would change. If you increase the frequency, it becomes more complex. The complexity increases as you increase up the frequency. And then, so you can see upper right, lower left, these are the metal plates with the granular medium forming the patterns. That's what you're looking at there. Upper left and lower right, these are cymatic patterns being created by the vibrations of this natural vibrating field that we are a part of. And you can see, it's like, wow, that really is a cymatic pattern. I can see it. And even a snowflake is a cymatic pattern. What's happening is that ice is forming on a frequency, and the air is filled with all these different frequencies, and they form on different frequencies, and so every one of them looks different. That's why all the snowflakes look different. Isn't that interesting? I got one more. It is this. The 5 kleshas. This is from Buddhist philosophy, understood to be, from the Buddhist perspective, the root causes of all suffering. It's what I'm saying. It's coming from us not knowing who we are, not knowing what's real, not knowing what the field is, not knowing how we are the field, not knowing how our emotions are telling us things about our relationship between our bigger perspective thoughts and our thoughts, all that stuff. When we don't know it, we're grasping and clinging at the wrong thing. Only the love is real. That's what A Course in Miracles tells us, and I have come to believe that is indeed a true and worthy statement. Your inner being absolutely agrees with that one. Only the love is real. Now, your physical self could disagree with that sentence. Oh, wait a minute. I can see all kinds of things that are not love, and they look pretty real to me. But you're not necessarily understanding what the sentence means if you see it that way. Yeah, a lot of stuff is happening, but only the love part of it is real. Focus on that, and you will make it grow. Focus on the other, and you make that grow too. Your choice, our choice. Oh, you know what? There's a whole lot of slides I didn't show. I implied that all the math has been done, that we really do have an amazing, amazing future ahead of us. Now, everything's black holes. The structure, it's all black holes all the way up and all the way down. These spinning disks of these integers of wholeness. And since everything's black holes, every proton is a black hole. A little black integer wholeness of Planck's spinning, and the Planck field within every proton is reflecting all of the protons and all the rest of the universe. I have a slide that demonstrates that one. This right here is demonstrating black hole proton Hawking evaporation, which, if it's a black hole, then it obeys Hawking radiation evaporation time and will eventually evaporate. Well, a proton's a pretty stable little black hole. It looks like approximately 10 to the 35 billion years before a proton is going to just evaporate. How many years has this universe been going on? Well, about 14 billion years. That's not even 10 to the 2 billion. 10 to the 2 is 100 billion. 10 to the 3 is 1,000 billion. 10 to the 4 is 10,000 billion. You see how fast this is going to get really, 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 really big? 35 billion, 10 to the 35 billion is way a long time. Let's keep going. There's all kinds of screening mechanisms to all this data flow that's flowing across all the scales from the largest to the smallest. As all of these Plancks upload their information to the whole, and the information of the whole downloads to all the parts. How is it doing it? Through this cosmic jiggle of space-time at the 0 point energy field. At 0 point energy. What is 0 point energy? It's the place, the point where all the Plancks are jiggling. It's the shared point. It's gravity. It's love. This is a Planck length. Take a photon, go in at the speed of light, cross its own diameter. That's a Planck. Very, very small. Very, very, very small. We already did this one. This one is the spin being baked into the cake. This one is the one that shows the relationship between all of the Plancks within every proton and all of the protons in all of the universe. I promise you, this math has been done, people. This math has been done, which means that the technology can follow it, which means we do not have to keep living the paradigms of scarcity that have plagued humanity for the last... Can anybody remember a time when it didn't? I don't know. Pathway out of the wilderness, people. I'm so excited. I'm excited about our future. I'm excited about our present. I'm excited about my present. I'm excited about my ability to stabilize my own vibrational frequency, to stabilize my own emotions, to have a grip in this world, to not be frightened every step of the way by this powerfully frightening paradigm we got going on around us. Very complex, so many moving parts. Oh my gosh, we're made of meat. All the things that could be incredibly terrifying. But it's not terrifying. It's exciting. It's interesting. It's fabulous. We just have to know who we are. Know who we are. Who am I? And with that, I'm going to leave you until tomorrow. And until tomorrow, I bid you peace. I love you so much. I wish you well. And most of all, most powerfully of all, keep your source with you. Usually I say, may the source be with you. And so, with that, I leave you. May the source be with you.